Hi everybody, Dan Illman, Matt Bernier. The DRFBets race of the day for Wednesday, November the 28th, race number 8 at the Big A. It is a nice optional claiming race for 3 and up. They're going a 2-turn mile and an eighth. You can play this race, you can play this card with the DRFBets account. Please sign up at bets.drf.com. You will immediately access a 300% deposit match. Let's meet the field for our Wednesday DRFBets race of the day. 8 expected to go a mile and an eighth. You can access free formulator past performances for this race on the race of the day event page at drf.com. Download them, handicap along with us. We'll take the field in post position order. Matt, the number 1 is Calculated Risker, and it's interesting to me that 2 of his fastest races by far have come in his only 2-turn dirt starts. Is that really the difference maker here for Calculated Risker?
Well, I think you can look at it that way. You can also look at the fact that he is perfect, or not perfect, but he's 4 for 6 on a wet track. I think that certainly would move him up if he caught some moisture. He's kind of an interesting case to me because this is going to be his real first time here in this open N2X level. They tried the Empire Classic most recently. He didn't have the greatest of beginnings. I don't really want to hold that race against him, but at the same time, I kind of look at him and say, unless you do get a wet racetrack, sure, maybe he'll appreciate the 2-turn configuration, but I don't know if he has any real reason to take a step forward here. I think his best race makes him a fringe contender. That's kind of how I view him as a whole. I
tend to agree with you. I'm willing to take the Empire Classic with a grain of salt. You mentioned he didn't have a very good trip, and he also missed some preparation coming into that race, listed as a vet scratch on August the 26th. I do think he'll run better than the Empire Classic performance line, but this is a pretty decent field. Maybe I'd only use him underneath in single race exotics. The number 2 is Testosterone, and he is a salty old-timer. He's closing in on $500,000 in career earnings, but he's only raced twice since February the 15th, and neither one of those races was very good. In fact, he's beaten a combined 1 horse in those 2 outings. Can Testosterone run anymore?
Yeah, I'm kind of dubious. It's been a minute since he's even seen the winner's circle, and that came at Finger Lakes. That was back in July of 2017. He hasn't been a winner here in the NYRA circuit since April of last year. So, I mean, we're going on a hot minute before we've seen his best sort of effort. You look and see, I suppose, if you want to go to that run 3 back, that February race at Aqueduct at a mile and a quarter, I guess from a figure standpoint, that gives him a puncher's chance. But you brought up each of these past 2. I won't hold the turf race against him. But at the same time, is there a reason that he was on the grass? I just wonder if he's going the wrong way.
Distance will be okay for him. There's no doubt about that. But he's been stuck in this condition now for almost 2 years. The number 3 is Snap Decision, who was gelded over the summer by Shug McGahee. He's come back with 2 okay tries in his first 2 career starts on dirt. Now, both of those races were 1-turn miles. Maybe he'll do better with distance around 2 turns, but he's still a maiden on the dirt, and he was beaten by a 44-1 shot last time out.
Yeah, and you bring up the biggest thing. I know he was gelded, and I know they've only run him on dirt since then. They both happen to be 1-turn variety, so maybe he wants more additional distance. But those 2 races that he's run on the main track, they just don't really give me any indication that he is up to par with some of the better horses in here. Like you said at the top, this is a pretty good group here. I think he's going to need a career effort if he's going to be competitive. I also hate to see those minor awards. He likes to settle for little pieces here and there. He's 2 of 17 and 7 times second or third.
For those that believe, and Snap Decision to me is a little light at 4-1 on David Aragona's morning line, you do have a positive Shug McGahee formulator fact, which we'll show you right now. Past 2 years, older dirt routers making the 3rd start after a layoff, 40% winners and almost a $3 return on investment. We'll move to the 4, Hammer and Ammer, who ran into a pretty good 3-year-old in Plainsman last time out. We saw Plainsman come back and win the Grade 3 Discovery last weekend at Aqueduct with a 93 Beyer speed figure. Hammer and Ammer has good tactical speed. To me, the question is the distance. I'm not completely sold on him at a mile and an eighth.
No, I'd agree with that. You look and see some of his best races have come at that flat mile configuration. I also think it's something to keep note of. Look at his overall record at Aqueduct. He's 0 for 5, and he settled for minor awards there. You brought up that Plainsman came back and he won his next start, so at least he's been facing decent company. But I kind of agree with you. I feel like if you're going to use him, you're going to have to look at that and say, I hope that final 1/8 of a mile isn't going to be his undoing.
Do That Dance is the number 5. 11 times second and third from 32 lifetime starts, but he easily outperformed his odds last time out in the Maryland Million Classic, rallying to finish second at 35-1. But I think this is pretty much a lateral move class-wise. He might even be taking a slight step up in class, and he's only 1 for 12 lifetime on the dirt.
Yeah, I kind of look at it like it is actually a move up in class slightly from that Maryland Millions Classic. You look at his overall body of work. He has a few races that give him a puncher's chance, but those all came on the grass. His main track form from a speed figure standpoint, I just don't think he's fast enough.
Crew Chief has been recently campaigning on turf for Michael Maker, but he's won on all three surfaces in his career, getting back to dirt with a little bit of speed, and he was just overmatched in his most recent dirt start, 3 starts back. Super Tap at the runner-up came back to run second with a 99, then third with an 89, then third with an 86. That was a hard-hitting group, and he was up close to a solid pace. I think he can be close once again. It's just that this horse has not shown a lot of stamina. One of the rare cases for a Michael Maker claiming horse claim that has just not shown a lot of punch in the stretch.
And to be honest with you, when I look at his overall body of work, I don't know what his game actually is. I like you say, from a distance standpoint, this could be a little bit of a bugaboo for him. But also, you know, it's hard to argue with the fact that from a figure standpoint, these 2 turf races most recently, they've been faster than what he's produced with Maker as his trainer on the main track. So I'm still a little bit unsure what his game actually is at this point in his career. He's a soon-to-be 6-year-old. To me, he's the kind of horse, if I was going to use him, I'd use him underneath.
Timeform US is the morning line favorite, the number 7, Mr. Buff, on the lead on their Timeform US pace projector. And I wouldn't be surprised if Mr. Buff makes the lead. If Hammer and Ammer wants to go, that's perfectly fine for Mr. Buff. I think if Crew Chief wants to go, I think it's fine for Mr. Buff. Mr. Buff's found himself at 1 1/8. His last 2 victories have come at this distance, and he has run some big races at Aqueduct, a 106 Beyer speed figure way back in March. And then last time out, Timeform US has those fractions color-coded red. Mr. Buff did all the dirty work and hung on late, and that point to remember, he wasn't getting by him on the gallop out. It was a good effort.
Yeah, it certainly was. And like you say, distance, not a problem. 2 for 3, never been out of the money in those 3 starts, going 1 1/8. Has a win over the track and at the distance. Highest last out Beyer, highest last out raw Timeform number. There's really a lot to like here. And you brought up the other piece. If Hammer and Ammer is intent on the lead, we brought up those sort of distance concerns with him. If you're Mr. Buff, you sit just off of him. If he can't go on with it, you inherit it. And you know what? If they don't want to go, David Cohen, you be aggressive. You send him to the front. I just think he works out a good trip. Look, if he loses, I don't think it's because of the trip. I think it's just because he gets beat by somebody else.
Juddmonte Farms homebred number 8, Own Agenda, completes the field, trained by Bill Mott. Here's one of your angles, Matt. He's paired up Beyer tops in his last 2 races, and as a lightly raced 3-year-old, maybe we're going to see a significant forward move. While he's yet to try this distance, the way he won last time out makes me think he'll get it. It was a very wet track. It was an off-the-turf race. I believe this horse was a main track only. He was the favorite. He was supposed to win, but it looked like he was getting outpaced a little bit on the turn, and Jose Ortiz had to get after him, and then he just was able to grind down that field. I think 1 1/8 is okay. I think he's coming into his own. 12-1 on Aragona's morning line. That's fair.
Yeah, it is. I don't think I like him as a win contender, but if I'm content using a horse like the favorite drawn just to the inside, this is the kind of horse, Own Agenda, that I want to try to sneak into the exacta just because of what you laid out. He's still relatively lightly raced. He's paired up those career Beyer tops, and he's just kind of that grinder, that even pace sort that I don't think the distance will be a problem for him as opposed to some of these other horses.
And the 4th place horse from the most recent race came back to run 3rd in the Grade 3 Commonwealth Turf, his preferred surface, with an 84 Beyer. Pick time for the Wednesday DRFBets race of the day. Mr. Buff's going to have to tote top weight, 125 pounds, going 1 1/8, but we think he should be in control turning into the stretch.
Well, 125 pounds plus both of us on his back as well. I think this is an instance where, again, you can make the case he's the best horse, and he's probably going to work out the best trip in here. He's in good form. We know that. To me, if you like this horse, I think he's likely to go closer to even money when it's all said and done. If you're going to play this race, I think you're better off trying to hook him up with someone. I think Own Agenda would be the one that I want to use in second.
Matt's going to go 7-8. I'm going 7-2-8-4 as I pick my namesake, Mr. Buff, in the Wednesday DRFBets race of the day. Play the race, play the card with a DRFBets account. Sign up at bets.drf.com and immediately receive a 300% deposit match. Approximate post time for race number 8 at the Big A on Wednesday, 3:47 Eastern. Good luck.